My mother's betrothal to a gentleman named George heralds the dawn of a new familial epoch, one wherein our union symbolizes the convergence of disparate strands into a cohesive tapestry. George, his progeny comprising a triad spanning the spectrum of adolescence, and I together compose a mosaic of kinship, an amalgam of shared aspirations and collective dreams. In the intervening years since my father's untimely demise, my mother and George have cultivated a bond that transcends mere companionship, fostering an environment wherein love and understanding flourish. Our cohabitation, now in its seventh month, bears witness to the harmonious synthesis of two families, each contributing its unique hue to the vibrant tableau of our existence. Yet, amidst the jubilation and anticipation that permeate the impending nuptials, I find myself grappling with a dissonance, a disquietude that belies the veneer of celebration. The verbiage encapsulated within the oration drafted by my mother and George, while undoubtedly heartfelt, rings hollow in my ears, a discordant note in an otherwise harmonious symphony. Words such as wholeness and euphoria, though resonant with sentiment, fail to capture the nuanced complexity of my emotions. For while I am gratified by my mother's newfound happiness, I cannot help but mourn the absence of my father, a palpable void that no amount of felicity can assuage. The prospect of embracing a new paternal figure and siblings, while ostensibly a cause for celebration, elicits a pang of sorrow, a poignant reminder of the irrevocable loss that underpins this newfound union. In declining to recite the speech proffered by my mother and George, I do not seek to disparage their joy or denigrate their intentions. Rather, I strive to honor the authenticity of my own experience, to give voice to the myriad emotions that swirl within the recesses of my soul. For I am neither a child nor an ingenue, but a young adult grappling with the complexities of transition, a journey fraught with uncertainty yet imbued with the promise of growth and self-discovery. And while I may falter along the way, I do so with the unwavering conviction that authenticity, however fraught with difficulty, is the truest testament to the human spirit. Upon perusing the contents of the speech, I find myself at odds with its sentiments. The monotonous delivery that they insist upon only exacerbates the dissonance between the words uttered and the emotions they fail to encapsulate. It seems they are more concerned with projecting an image of familial bliss rather than acknowledging the nuanced reality of our situation. Indeed, their failure to consult me in the crafting of this speech speaks volumes about their perception of my agency and autonomy. It is as though they seek to impose upon me a narrative that conforms to their desires, rather than honoring the authenticity of my own experience. In their eagerness to paint a picture-perfect tableau, they overlook the nuances of my grief and the complexity of my emotions. While the notion of malicious compliance may hold a certain allure, I am hesitant to engage in such petty retribution. Instead, I am resolved to assert my truth with grace and dignity, to stand firm in my convictions without resorting to petulance or vindictiveness. After all, it is my integrity and authenticity that I seek to uphold, even in the face of familial pressure and discord. Moreover, I am cognizant of the potential repercussions of such actions, both for myself and for the delicate dynamics of our family unit. Rather than exacerbating tensions or driving a wedge between us, I am committed to fostering open communication and mutual understanding, even in the midst of disagreement. Members of my maternal family have been urging me to revert to using the name Nancy. My grandmother expressed that it would hold significant sentimental value to her, emphasizing that I have reached an age where the name Nancy no longer carries the negative connotations it once did. Conversely, my mother has been insistent that Sky is not a suitable name for my adult life, advocating for the adoption of Nancy, which she contends would lend a more refined air to my persona. Additionally, she underscored the practical inconvenience of using a name that does not align with my legal first name in my adult endeavors. Other relatives echoed similar sentiments, citing the fulfillment it would bring to my grandmother and subtly suggesting that my reluctance to embrace Nancy may be construed as a rejection of my mother. Last Wednesday, my mother and grandmother convened with me, imploring me to embrace Nancy. They emphasized the emotional significance it held for them and implored me to consider the familial resonance of the name. However, I stood my ground, affirming my identity as Sky and reiterating my preference for the name under which I have long identified. In response, my mother lamented the perceived embarrassment caused by my continued usage of Sky, citing inquiries from acquaintances regarding my apparent aversion to the name Nancy. However, it is evident that such inquiries were likely solicited by my mother herself, rather than stemming from genuine curiosity on the part of her friends. In light of this, I am resolute in my decision to maintain the use of Sky, asserting my autonomy over my own identity. It is worth noting that my father has been supportive of my stance, attempting to mediate the situation and advocate for my autonomy. Despite his efforts, my mother has remained obstinate, exhibiting signs of hostility in the wake of my refusal. Consequently, I am left pondering whether I am, in fact, the one at fault in this scenario. While I was out running errands, I unexpectedly encountered a family acquaintance closely associated with my in-laws, an individual whose company I do not particularly relish. This person is notorious for indulging in malicious gossip, often with a palpable intent to inflict harm upon others. Despite my reservations, I maintain a demeanor of civility in all social interactions. However, on this occasion, she accosted me, brazenly inquiring about my husband and my plans for starting a family. In a callous manner, she proceeded to delve into my personal history, referencing my background as a foster child and the circumstances surrounding my birth, all under the guise of genuine concern. Her intrusive and insensitive remarks left me deeply unsettled. Upon returning home, I confided in my husband, grappling with the emotional turmoil provoked by this encounter. I perceived his family's actions as a profound betrayal of the trust I had vested in them. They had disregarded my explicit request for discretion regarding my past, a request motivated by my desire to maintain privacy regarding deeply personal matters. My husband, in turn, confronted his parents and sister regarding this breach of confidence. However, their response was disappointingly dismissive, with his sister rationalizing their actions by suggesting that the truth would inevitably come to light. My history is one fraught with complexities, marked by the clandestine affair between my parents, both of whom were married to others at the time. I am the product of that illicit liaison, a circumstance that rendered me an unwanted burden within both of their respective families. Cast adrift at a young age, I found myself navigating the foster care system, perpetually yearning for the semblance of familial belonging that remained perpetually elusive. Faced with the callous indifference displayed by my sister-in-law and the evident lack of remorse for their actions, I felt compelled to address her directly. In no uncertain terms, I conveyed my profound disappointment and admonished her for the disregard with which she had treated my wishes. In a display of petulance, she recoiled, incredulous at the notion of facing repercussions for her transgressions. Nonetheless, my husband stood steadfast by my side, affirming my stance and drawing a firm boundary against further encroachments. Subsequently, my in-laws inundated my husband with a barrage of frantic messages, an attempt to coerce compliance with their demands. Faced with their unwavering obstinacy, he resorted to blocking their communication channels, thereby shielding us from their toxic influence. In hindsight, I am left to ponder whether my refusal to acquiesce to their demands was indeed an act of folly given the brevity of the notice provided. Yet, I remain resolute in my conviction that capitulating to their manipulative tactics would only serve to perpetuate a cycle of disrespect and disregard for my autonomy. The depth of your in-law's betrayal is truly profound, and I can only begin to imagine the emotional toll it has taken on you. It's heartening to hear that your husband has chosen to stand by your side and defend your honor amidst this turmoil. His unwavering support speaks volumes about the strength of your relationship and the depth of his commitment to you. As for the matter of the prenuptial agreement, your concerns are entirely valid, given the complexities of modern relationships and the uncertainties of life. Your prudent approach in safeguarding your financial future is not only commendable but also a wise decision, especially considering your significant assets and the potential risks involved. The inclusion of an infidelity clause, while perhaps unconventional to some, is a practical measure aimed at protecting your interests in the unfortunate event of a divorce. Your fiance's initial reaction may have been unexpected, but it's crucial to remember that discussions surrounding prenuptial agreements often evoke strong emotions and differing perspectives. It's understandable that he may feel hurt or offended by the implication, yet it's essential to approach this matter with empathy and understanding from both sides. Ultimately, your decision to prioritize your financial security is a reflection of your prudence and foresight. While uncertainties may linger, It's essential to remain steadfast in your commitment to protecting your interests and ensuring a secure future for yourself. Trust in your judgment and stay true to your convictions, for it is your right to safeguard your financial well-being and peace of mind. It's imperative to recognize that while I couldn't be coerced into assuming responsibility for his financial obligations, his earnings couldn't be seized to cover child support either. It's crucial for you, opt to acknowledge that individuals evolve, and so can their commitment to a relationship. You must adhere to the prenuptial agreement, and if your fiancé cannot come to terms with it, then it's his loss. Regarding the altercation with my roommate, I, a 27-year-old female, recently found myself embroiled in a disagreement with my 24-year-old female roommate, and I'm uncertain if my actions were justifiable. 2 weeks ago, I made the decision to curtail my consumption of junk food and fast food, opting instead to embark on a journey towards weight loss and improved health. It had become customary for my roommate to convene gatherings with friends on Saturdays, often accompanied by the ordering of pizza. For the second consecutive week, I declined her invitation. When she inquired about my reluctance, I opted to divulge my personal endeavor to lose weight and adopt healthier habits. Her response caught me off guard. She asserted that I was slender and didn't require weight loss. I candidly acknowledged my own perception of being overweight, a declaration that appeared to unsettle her. In a moment of apparent distress, she implored, "What am I then?" In response, I endeavored to reassure her that one's physique is a personal matter, and my observations pertained solely to myself. I emphasized that her contentment with her own body was paramount, offering what could be deemed a generic response, albeit one born out of a desire to diffuse the tension. My intention was never to disparage her or critique her appearance. In truth, I harbor no judgment towards others based on their physical stature. If my roommate interpreted my comments as a slight against her size, it was unintentional. I harbor no illusions of superiority. My motivation to shed excess weight is rooted in a commitment to honesty regarding my own physical condition. To me, the pursuit of weight loss entails a candid acknowledgement of one's size, devoid of euphemisms such as chubby or plus-sized.